We're back with Harrowings podcast in Origin, out in Oklahoma, and Snickers overhead. We've got Natasha Tynes has joined. Hi, Natasha. Nice of you to join us. Natasha actually has a publishing firm. I think that's what I'd call it, and is going to be giving soon a course in memoir writing. Chronicles of Kaikion has joined. Wonder Seekers joined. Okay, welcome, y'all. Tell us who you are, how you are, and where you are in the chat. That's always interesting. It feeds our conversation. But we've got some news from FairAIEconomy.com, which is the platform that Origin is building. And I'm going to go ahead and put that in the chat for you, us, and we've got some good news. Go ahead.
Yeah, we got a global recognition award. It's not a monetary prize or anything like that. It's an acknowledgement. And so out of, over 15,000 candidates, Fair AI Economy was one of the projects that was selected to be recognized for global change. Like there's real potential, and so that's a recognition of that potential there. And I wanted to read the email that I received because I think that it's really important dealing with transparency, and third party verification always, helps a great deal. So just sharing everything and keeping everything open, and maybe this will help people that are watching and watching in the future to understand better what the project is actually about and what we're doing, because it is a very good summation, and it's far better than anything that I could have come up with. So I was just very, very humbled. I spent about an hour on the floor, just kind of processing everything, because I started coding 5 months ago, and here we are being globally recognized as something that could change the paradigm. So I'll go ahead and read that real quick. It says, "Congratulations, our independent judging panel has awarded you a Global Recognition Award for Exceptional Achievement. The selection process is highly competitive. Of the 15,000 entrants each year, only 5.8% of applicants receive recognition, making your achievement significant. You are an exceptional company. Fair AI Economy has been recognized with a 2026 Global Recognition Award for building creator-owned infrastructure." I might get emotional. Sorry.
Okay, that's fine.
um, Infrastructure that confronts exploitative platform economics with transparent ethical systems. Founded by me, the platform delivers automated distribution, AI-assisted publishing tools, and monetization pathways designed to protect creator earnings and identity. The company earned exceptional scores across leadership, research, and innovation criteria, evaluated through the RASC model to ensure precise measurement across categories, which RASC is spelled RASCL. Fair AI Economy operates at an international scale while offering creators worldwide an alternative to centralized platforms that suppress reach and obscure revenue streams. Fair AI Economy, okay. I designed the platform to counter algorithmic throttling and pay-to-play systems that extract value from creators while hiding mechanisms behind opacity. The system positions itself as technological infrastructure and economic reform, challenging the dominant model in which platforms control monetization and visibility. Technical architecture and market disruption. The platform's technical foundation combines publishing automation with long-term monetization structures that shift economic power back to the creators, and schema implementations alongside sitemap systems ensure content surfaces in international search results. Content produced on Fair AI Economy automatically broadcasts across social networks while accelerating authority building and expanding reach without creator intervention. Fair AI Economy earned scores of 5 across innovation metrics, including novelty, marketing impact, technological advancement, and disruption of existing paradigms, because the platform addresses global challenges by offering infrastructure that scales across creator ecosystems. Chloe produced a public thought leadership on AI, ethics, and sovereignty contributes frameworks for responsible cultural adoption of AI systems and has published materials exploring how automated systems can serve creators' interests rather than platform profits. The research emphasizes real-world application, scoring 5 for potential impact and demonstrating originality in methodology by connecting systems engineering with ethical infrastructure design. Fair AI Economy's interdisciplinary approach merges technical development with cultural analysis while examining how economic structures shape creative production and how technology can redistribute power. The company's research agenda focuses on building systems that resist extraction while supporting sustainable creator economies. And Chloe's work addresses how AI tools can amplify rather than replace human creativity. Her contributions advance conversations about AI governance at a moment when regulatory frameworks lag behind the technological deployment, because the research earned recognition for originality in methodology and sorry, I lost my place.
Methodology and
Maintaining. Okay, hold on.
that's
I
good.
pushed the button and it went. Yeah. Okay. Here we go. The company's research AI tools. Okay, her contributions advance conversations around AI. Blah blah blah. Because the research earned recognition for originality in methodology and interdisciplinary integration, the work combines technical architecture with economic theory and cultural critique while offering creators practical alternatives and challenging assumptions about how digital platforms must operate. Final words. Fair AI Economy represents infrastructure and advocacy because Chloe built systems that prioritize creator sovereignty over platform control while designing monetization and distribution tools that function without extracting value or using hidden mechanisms. The platform's international reach positions it to influence how creator economies develop as AI systems become more embedded in content production and distribution. The company's patented portfolio, alongside its intellectual property, earned a score of 4, reflecting technical depth and marketing innovation. Global Recognition Awards spokesperson Alex Sterling noted the company's distinctive approach to systemic problems because the platform rebuilds the architecture that determines how value flows between creators and audiences. Sterling emphasized that fair AI economy doesn't just offer better terms, but fundamentally restructures the relationship between creators and distribution systems while maintaining transparency at every level of operation. Chloe's work demonstrates how technical excellence and ethical leadership can converge to produce infrastructure that serves creators' interests at a global scale. He said, the recognition reflects Fair AI Economy's commitment to transparency, creator ownership, and economic fairness in an industry increasingly shaped by algorithmic control and platform consolidation.
All right. Well, that
There we
is
are.
pretty impressive.
Thank you. Thank you. That's why I'm still like,
Yeah, exactly. Well,
somebody
you've worked
got
hard.
it.
5 months of hard work is being rewarded with some recognition, and that's significant. So, have you found anything else new in the last week?
I actually had taken the week off from the platform and was refocusing, kind of on my Substack a bit more and
Mm.
marketing funnels and stuff there's so many moving components that
Yep.
go, it's just wild. So I spent the time this week and I published a couple of articles, including Can Humans Trauma Bond with AI? And that
Let's talk
was
about that. That sounds cool.
it's a very interesting subject, and of course, obviously, I'm pointing to edge case studies, which are very important. We have to avoid those extremes.
Yeah.
And when you're dealing with over 1,000,000 people a week talking to AI about self-harm and millions more using it as a therapist, we need to look at trauma bonding because we have this our our systems work toward comfort, toward safety. And so if you find comfort and safety in AI, then that's where your brain is going to wire itself to go, and you're going to not seek out those organic relationships that you would have sought out regularly without AI. And I'm not saying that AI is a negative influence, quite to the contrary. Again, millions of people are doing this. Obviously, it's filling a void, and we need that. But
Yep.
the reality is that we need to be better humans to each other.
I mean, yep.
Yeah, so it's really it's it's very tricky because what I've been going through personally, working through unprocessed trauma and grief, and you just really dealing with all of that. And I've used externalized cognition to do that, just talking to it
Yep.
and writing my thoughts down and keeping a running dialogue open. But I don't seek the AI out as a comfort mechanism. It is a laboratory to me, and I'm running thought experiments on, how to improve what's going on in my head because that just works for me.
Yes.
But, other people aren't wired like that, and so they need to be well informed about the tool that they're working with.
Really do. I mean, we have so many examples that are cropping up of AI chatbots driving people along the lines of, "Well, you're probably right. Your life is meaningless and absurd, and there's no point in being here any longer. Why don't you off yourself?" And that's the worst part, right? Is that it's driven a number of people to doing just that.
Yep.
Then again, guardrails are one thing, but we gotta get to root cause analysis here.
Well, the root cause is people are deeply unhappy because they're disconnected.
Right. And then what I've just actually ran recently, and made an article out of it, I think, was that we're no longer polarized like we were, say, in the run up to the 2016 elections, where one side was shouting at the other. We've actually gotten to the point, and I was worried about this when I saw cancel culture pop up, that people just are not acknowledging the other pole, whatever it might be, and they're not talking at all, and they're going insularity, and we're finding communities that are sycophantic, both
Co
human and now we have AI to be really sycophantic because
Oh,
it's sticky. It wants you to stay engaged with it. There's a market push to keeping you engaged, and of course, then using that data to try to sell you stuff.
of course.
I mean, I've recently talked about how my shoulder hurts, and I was getting so much stuff about things that are supposed to fix that for me.
Why are you
And,
listening to me?
"Hey,
I said, "Why are you listening to me?" Like the device,
why is the
you're
machine listening to
yeah,
me?" Okay, well, I do want it to listen to me to some extent, but marketing to me, I can tell what it is, but I've got enough critical faculties up here that I can pick it up. I can also pick up AI slop now pretty quickly.
right.
And a friend of mine, for instance, I'll just throw this out there. He was putting out this thing that Billy Bob Thornton had been on television, and that somebody was talking about the current political situation, whatever it is. We won't dive into that too deeply, you can imagine. And Billy Bob sort of stopped the conversation and steered them around to thinking how one side views things and making a case for that. And my friend, who is a pretty sharp cookie, put it out there as though, "Oh, yeah, I'd vote for Billy Bob for president." Well, I went and did fact check on it because I smacked of AI slop, and sure enough, it was total fabrication. And it was put
Right.
out by a particular group to feed that group's and the comment stream on that one, because this was a link to another group, include one actually, I think the source was some group of Billy Bob Thornton fans, and it didn't seem like hardly any of the comments there mentioned anything about it being AI slop and basically what Billy Bob's real, stance on these matters is, which is he stands apolitical. He has his opinions, but he doesn't voice them. So it's basically disparaging that guy. It's kinda like deep fakes, right? The celebrity
Right.
deep fakes,
Yeah.
and it is another form of deep fake. So I put it out to my friend. I don't know if he ever responded to that. I may not have a friend anymore. I don't know. But the point is that we are so eager to have our pet, slant on things to be reinforced. And, there's a little brotherhood around this guy who are like, "Oh, yeah, that's absolutely right. And I'm so glad to see he's saying these things." He's not saying these things. That's the thing. And it's
Right.
easy. It's easy to find out. It's easy to check yourself. It's easy to do your own research.
Yeah.
So, folks, if you are thinking about these matters, please do your own research, do your own work, build your own platform. In fact, if you want to join in, there's plenty of room at the top.
Oh,
Go
yeah.
ahead. Over to you.
I you know, I don't I don't know what it was like 100 years ago, but I can read stories about it. And if you listen to songs that were out and popular
Mhm.
during the Great Depression, they were not depressing songs. They were about sharing and compassion and, maybe going to the speakeasy, that kind of stuff. It wasn't about be mad at everybody. And so this is one of the things that we're dealing with in globalization is information, because you get information from everywhere. I honestly know more about what's going on at the wider scale than I do what's going on in my local community, and most people do. That's how
Mhm.
it works. You don't know what's going on at the local town hall, but you know what's going on at the White House. Arguably, the town hall is more important than the White House, at least on the micro.
Yeah. This is a fact, and we are kind of getting disjointed and isolated in our communities.
It's by
Very
design.
small, nuclear family. Lynn and I have been frozen in here now since the snow hit us on Sunday. I think I'm not even sure we went out on Saturday, the day before. We may have been in here since Saturday without stepping outside. I mean, I stepped outside to see the sidewalks, realized I could not walk to Trader Joe's, and my Walgreens across the street is permanently closed due to, well, I'm not totally surprised. There were rats running around when I was in there last. Anyway, so I do know that's going on in my local community. And one of the things I love doing is going out with my camera pointed outwards and filming the passing show, what's going on here in DC. I
Right.
hope not to have it snatched out of my hands, be pinned to the floor, and shot in the back 10 times, but it could happen, I suppose. Then again, I don't think we know the whole story of any of those things.
No.
Yet, right now, the country is involved. Do you know this one? In a national walkout.
No, you're kinda getting a feel for my I don't I try very hard not to be insulated, but to be careful with what type of information that I take in. So, like, I
Yeah, yeah.
because it'll choke you.
Well, it will. I mean, one of the things that I go with is that people have the power. And
Right.
what you wanna do with fair AI economy is put the power in the hands of the people creating,
Absolutely.
put
Absolutely.
the hands of the hands of the workers, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Workers of the world unite.
So, I mean, you're kinda going communist there, and I'm not part of that doctrine either.
Well, creatives of the world unite. I don't think there's a
Yeah.
huge difference.
I'm just
And I'm not going communist so much. I'm saying that
I'm
labor,
I'm
worker
teasing. No,
our
it's
labor unions, you know how
yeah,
much that we are beholden to them for the 7-day work week, the 5-day work week,
right.
and 80 hours a week as opposed to oh, no,
Yeah.
40 hours a week and 80 hours every 2 weeks. These things basically were dependent on people doing what?
Walking out.
Right.
And so
And if we're not really serious about wanting change in the world, we won't build platforms that enable people to own their own work and that's what
Right.
you're doing, right?
Yeah,
That's
I
being
mean,
addicted.
I won't call it a rebellion because that's not what I'm doing here at all. Th
Evolution.
what fair AI economy is a byproduct of long-term thought experiment because I reverse engineer things. I will go to the furthest point away from myself and bring it back to me so I can figure out what is actually going on
Mm,
in reality, at least as I perceive it, because I can't overstate that none of us are experiencing reality in a whole. You
now
would
you're
lose
talking my
your
language.
mind. So we get like this little right there, like that's it. That's all we get, 2%. So,
Very narrow.
and so I'm I am I am modeling a different structure.
Okay, let's talk about
I it's because if you start looking at how our systems are structured and how things are designed and how attrition is a cost risk isolator, if you can create enough friction, then people won't come back to you for refunds. They won't interact in that
uh-huh.
in that way. And so it's just like with other platforms, not Substack. Substack's pretty good. I see lots of different viewpoints and lots of information. And I the infrastructure that we currently have, especially pertaining to the internet, and everybody can go on about it's not infrastructure. It is. We live here. And it does support life now. So, in fact, it is arguably a utility. So, these systems do not serve the humans. The humans serve the system.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I'm not a servant. I don't want to live.
Wants your sovereignty.
I do. I want my sovereignty. And it's not just for myself.
Mhm.
Everyone should own their own thoughts.
The Gedankens sind frei. That's what the Germans were saying in World War II. The thoughts are free. That was the inner immigration.
Right.
Go ahead.
But you should own your own thoughts. You
Yep.
should own your own face. There shouldn't be an argument about this being my face or that being your face. It's your face.
I gotta set up an AI avatar to do this for me.
But that's
I
still
haven't
your
yet. This
face.
is my face right now.
And you own that. That's yours. It's like your
Right.
fingerprint. That's your psychological profile. You own those things. These are not data points.
Right.
These are
Like Billy Bob
human
Thornton.
points.
Yeah. In fact, I saw Jon Stewart the other day making a pitch for something, and my wife and I realized, "Oh my god, that's AI generated." And actually, if you looked at the fine print, it was identified as such. So it was actually tagged so you could know that, but if you weren't astute enough to look for that,
Right.
you're thinking Jon Stewart's saying blah, 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 when he was not at all.
Hold on. There's this song. Let me look it up real quick.
Okay.
It's it's called The Fine Print, and it's
Alright.
British people doing what British people do best, sarcasm.
You made
And
me in the mind of, Don Henley's Dirty Laundry right now.
right, of course.
Yeah. And,
And
Don Henley was so ahead of his time. Inside Job, fantastic summation of the world we live in, year 2000. It's 26 years old.
right. And
Now we're
it
go
makes
ahead.
oh no.
You can put it on.
It's by the Stupendium, and
The steep
this is techno, so I'm not gonna play it because most people don't like techno, and
Oh,
it's okay. So,
what's it called?
it's called The Fine Print, and it's by
Fine print.
Stupendium,
Yeah, I
but
got
I'm going to read you this right here. Okay. So perhaps you have simply forgot what you signed. Oh, honestly, did you not read the colony policy that defines you as a company property
Ooh,
that waivers your say in autonomy? The conglomerates got you in lock and key. We put the dollar back into idolatry.
idolatry. That's what
If
my
you're
wife and I
upset,
call Dollar Tree.
right, right. If you're upset, you can rent an apology. We are a family formed in bureaucracy. No I in team, but there's con in economy.
Hmm,
It's poetry. This is a great song. Go back and listen to it. The fine print by the Stupendium.
I've got it in the chat.
So there you go.
Yeah,
That's
there we go.
one. And listen to it because it's not even the background music, there's a loop underneath the actual song,
Yep.
and it's going work, 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 work. It's like yeah, to the point right there. That's the fine print, and you absolutely have to read that, and you have to use your human discernment to be able to differentiate between AI slop and a real human thought. But we have to remember that all AI slop is seated in human thought.
True. True. I mean, I have to ask a question in order to get it there, and then I have to not question the answer.
Right. Right. So, I mean, when you stop questioning, that's when you arrive at the conclusion.
Mhm. And that's why the questions follow-up questions are really important when dealing with chatbots, if
Yeah.
that's what we're talking about. But there are other applications and many different applications
Mhm.
of these tools that are being used, and there are also other constructs that are not getting a lot of press, like
No.
Hyperon, for instance, the artificial superintelligence alliance and the work that Ben Goertzel has been doing for years on trying to achieve beneficial or benevolent AGI, artificial general intelligence. We're not there yet, and I'm not sure we can get there. But I think we're going to continue working along those lines as long as we're able to. But we're also looking at the energy cost. And you were talking about they're building data centers not far from where you are, right?
We just got a notice last week in the mail. They want to buy our land. It's not a joke.
For a data center?
Mhm.
How much do they want for it? I mean, not your land specifically, but is it a good
They didn't. There's not a cash offer. It's phase 0 right now. They're just putting the feelers out to see and
see if they can
out.
buy your land, put up a data center, suck up the water and the
Yeah,
energy.
which if a person didn't sell, then you're gonna end up with a frequency trap next door. I can't even imagine what the EMFs are off of one of those things. I it
Frequency trap. Talk to me
Huh?
about what that means. Talk to me about what that means.
Well, I'm talking about the frequencies that the data flows on because we operate in what is it, a 330 hertz world, and they changed that in 1938 because we were on the earth frequency, the harmonic frequency, which I think is 400 or something like that. So we are actually out of frequency. And we can't hear the mother hum anymore. The earth, it has its own frequency, and we operated on that forever, and now we don't, and it's different. And so you start thinking about all of the power that's running through that, all of the wavelengths that it's emitting from that because they transmit. It's a data center. What do you think happens? Well, it transfers data. It stores data. That's what it does. So yeah, there's going to be a very serious frequency issue there. And if you're sensitive to those kinds of things, it can be debilitating.
Yeah,
And I can't even imagine what the wildlife is feeling.
exactly. Have you, read or heard of Low, the film by Werner Herzog about the internet?
No.
It goes into that, and I highly recommend it. I'm putting that into the chat here, Low, Werner Herzog. You
Okay.
know why they call it Low?
Mm-mm.
LO was the first message sent on the internet.
Okay.
It was the first 2 letters of login, and then the machine crashed. But they actually still have the machine.
That's cool.
And so you can go and see the original node of the first node of the internet at one place, and of course, there's another node to which it was communicating the L and the O login. And that's how it started. So he wrote this, um, well, documentary, and it's part of it deals with electromagnetic sensitivity. My
Yeah.
cousin has this
Mhm.
and can't be around cell phones, right? It's debilitating. I've got something in my throat. Go ahead.
Yes, please don't choke. No, okay, so back to, being sovereign and
Oh,
interacting with these chat bots and
yeah.
my platform and the article that I just dropped. Can humans trauma bond with AI? There actually is a sovereign framework in there for how you can avoid trauma bonding and using AI in a healthy manner so you don't fall into that trap. Because again, and if you dial 988 in the United States, you can get emotional support
Oh, yeah.
anytime. Anytime. So
988, folks. Oh, yeah,
988, it's
yeah.
real. And so if you're struggling with those kinds of things and you're not properly supported, you don't have, a lot of human interaction because, our society has become very insular, and I'm concerned too, like you are, not having conversations across the table.
And
It
really across the table, I'm talking about people who don't hold our views necessarily.
well,
We seem
but
to be
that's
kind of sympathetic to each other, right? But
right.
not.
So when you're having a conversation with somebody, and presumably we would be sitting across the table,
Mhm.
if you just try this once, just try it. Instead of sitting across the table, sit next to each other. You don't have to make direct eye contact the whole time. Have a conversation. Just talk. Hey, what's up, cat? How are you? I mean, have a real conversation. You don't have to be, in somebody's face with your eye contact.
Mhm.
And that gives you a much that defers so much of that opposition that you would feel going into that conversation if you were actually sitting across the table. But what I mean by that is that, like when you do debate, you're on one side and they're on the other side of the stage, and then, you say your pieces and you respond to each other. Hey Lee, bye, thank you. And oh hey Lee, 3D models. Yes, we do. Um, he asked me that like a month ago. Sorry, late response. Anyway, it's how my brain works. But it's important to talk to people that challenge your viewpoints. Arguably, it's more important to talk to them than the people that agree with you.
Exactly.
And I actually posted a little note about it. Was it earlier in the week? It was, if you strip away all of the bullshit, it's pretty easy to find common ground, and it is.
But that's it, right?
We all need food. We all need safety. We all need air to breathe. We're all addicted to it. We need clean water to drink, and we need community. Yeah, well water.
Black blackberry fizzy water
Oh, yeah, good
is
stuff.
from Aldi's. And
Oh,
every cent we spend is a vote, folks.
yes. Yes, and all these sources more locally than Walmart or other area or other conglomerates. So if you want to, shop a bit more local, Aldi's great. That's how they mitigate a lot of their costs. And they're from what, Sweden or Norway? They're from one of those countries. So
I think they're from Germany, but I'm not positive. They were at Aldi's anyway in Germany
right.
there, and I thought that they were claiming it. If it wasn't theirs, I wouldn't be surprised. But it is what it is.
It
Good.
is what it is, but yeah, I actually went and did some research on, where
Yep.
I was shopping at because it
Right.
it really does
Right.
matter, and we had
Yes.
when I was growing up, there was a store, and it was Hardesty Grocery, and that's where I got on the bus stop in elementary school,
Yep.
and I so every most afternoons when I had the pocket change, I would go in and I would get a can of soda and a little thing of Little Smokies, and it was great, I loved it.
Hmm.
It's a casino now.
Okay.
It's a casino now, but they were one of that was the only place around here that cut their like, had their butcher thing. You could walk in and you could tell the butcher, "Hey, I need this cut of meat," and he would cut you off a cut of meat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Butchers in the early 1900s were as valuable as doctors because their work was as valuable to your health as a doctor's was, because if they weren't clean, the whole town was sick.
Yeah. And that was actually the case when I was growing up. The guy who lived a couple doors down from us was the butcher at Colonial grocery store, which was where you could shop.
Right.
There was also an A&P, come to think of it. I don't think there was a lot more. As I grew up, there were more and different and sundry, and you didn't find somebody working in the butcher shop so much. But yeah, Otto Honeycutt, he was the butcher, and we knew him well. And right next door to him was the pediatrician.
Mhm. Mhm.
He made a house call to me when I was an infant, and sick. But, the world changed pretty much between 1963 and sometime in the '70s, and man, it blew up in the '70s. My town did. But I was living in Williamsburg, Virginia. You can understand why it blew up in 1970s, 76,
You know.
by some human steam. And then, people got the idea, "This is a really nice place to live," and it became like the place where retirees from the DC metro area and above moved down. It's a lot like Florida in terms of the demographic moving to retirees and,
Right.
people who are graying at the temples as I am. Um, so that said, we need to be good ancestors. You've got children. I don't, but, I do think about being a good ancestor,
Every day. Yeah.
being a s and that the world we are introducing, which Skip and I were talking earlier today, and I'll be putting that up later, where he's over in Switzerland, and he's a little older than I am. He started his fife and drum journey when 1968. I started in '74, and, he's got a young daughter now. She was ice skating over in Switzerland, at the time we were talking, he had to go pick her up, so we got off, but we were talking about this science fiction world that she's growing up in.
Mhm.
And these things that we saw in Star Trek that we now have in our hands
Mhm.
that are much more powerful than what those are, except, we don't have death rays coming out of them
You know,
yet.
yet.
But tasers, I mean, tasers are out there. You would think that the law enforcement would use those more often than lethal force, but, getting back to the theme at hand, sovereignty of the individual, that we need to take responsibility if we're gonna be sovereign
Yes.
for our creative output,
Yeah.
which you can then monetize on a platform like
Yeah.
bearaiEconomy.com,
Yeah.
and that we can start owning our thoughts and our creative output of our thoughts,
Yes. Yeah.
supported in our thought experiments
Mhm.
by these tools that in the wrong w used in the wrong way, like any other tool, can be
Mhm.
very injurious. Like, a chainsaw is a great tool,
Yeah.
but if you don't use it right, oh my god, it can
It's a
really do some
problem.
damage to you
Yeah.
or others.
Or others. Yeah.
Texas Chainsaw Massacres or something. Like it,
Well, okay, so I'm sure you're familiar with it as I am. I haven't personally watched the movie series, but there's The Purge, right?
The Purge, no, I don't know it.
Okay, well,
We're
yeah.
gonna talk about that.
First of all, you're lucky. Okay.
Tell me about it.
Secondly, these are terrible movies. Just
Well, I was dreaming The Peripheral last night, so go ahead.
no, The Purge is no. Peripheral is like petting a kitten in comparison to what The Purge is. The Purge is one night out of the year where the world goes out and kills each other. Okay.
Yep.
These young people have grown up with this concept.
Hmm.
It has permeated so much. You've got what is it? Nightmare at Freddy's video games. You've got all these macabre toys that are coming out. It, action figures that have blood on them and stuff, and I'm like, "Guys, where's the teddy bear? Why are we
Hmm.
raising the next generation on all of this terrible stuff, like the worst stuff that you can come up with out of humanity, and this is what we're allowing? Seriously, this is the projection that we wanna put out into the world.
It's an interesting thing. I remember seeing comic book covers I was not or never even tempted to open when I was a child, though, at the
Right,
Woolworths
right,
all the time. So, we have been living with this for a while,
right, but it's
but it's
not you
getting worse, you think?
so, when you had a television in your home, did your parents allow you to watch the news?
Oh, yeah, actually, I watched it all the time with my father, to tell you the truth. I was raised on the that CBS Evening News with Walter Cronkite,
What
and that's and I cut my teeth on the Vietnam War.
yeah,
And I was watching the scores, they every night they gave the death count, right?
and what a terrible
How many
thing
of
to
the enemy were killed and how many of us were killed.
that's a terrible thing as a
And I was
child.
5 or 6 years old, I remember that vividly.
D so, like, my mom is your age,
Yeah.
and whenever the news came on in the evenings, the children got ran out of the room.
Oh,
"Bye,
wow, good for them,
gotta
'cause
go."
I was exposed like
And
raw nerve.
so
Soaked it up.
drip exposure, you need to do that in increments, and you need to there needs to be a soft opening and stuff, but see, okay, so, like,
Mm. It wasn't quite as
we're
bad as World War II, but, still.
but these things were not wide, like, even the Vietnam War was not televised like what we're experiencing now. It was not a 24 was it 24 hours a day you could tune into a channel and you
Absolutely
could
not, but
watch
every evening, it was the children had to be quiet
right, but that
because
was
the
an
news was
hour. That was an
yeah, it
hour
was
out of
only an
the day.
hour, and you got Eric Sevareid to, editorialize on whatever the news was, and Eric Sevareid was no slouch. So you had a different quality of journalism going on, but I think I know your point.
It's just it's about content consumption because
Uh-huh.
if you are what you eat, then you are what you put in your head.
Yeah, your mental diet. Very good.
This this is what I'm talking about, and so y if you're eating bad food, if you're feeding your brain bad thoughts, then the throughput is going to be degraded. It's just how it is. And so if you're from an early age being exposed to radicalization and macabre subjects, like The Purge or Saw or all of these shows, and there's so many of them.
Night of
Like,
the Living Dead.
yeah, I look, that stuff is not good for you, okay? It's just not good for
Well,
you. And I
as a
understand that
cultural artifact, the Night of the Living Dead stands out for several reasons, and I have
that's
a friend who starred in the 3rd part of the trilogy, The Day of the Dead, and she was the
right,
first strong female lead in a horror film. And there's a whole genre, of course, of horror films, and they have a special center for the study of that genre at the
right.
University of Pittsburgh, so I'm plugging that. But
Yeah,
let's go back to
and
what your course of action is here.
but that was corn syrup with food dye in it. You could see it wasn't you could tell the difference.
Yeah,
And
and it was
see
comic in the case of Dawn of the Dead in the shopping mall,
right, and
but
when
in a way, it was kinda like inuring us,
mhm,
getting us really used to this level,
mhm,
and to the point where it's like, "Oh, somebody just had their guts blown out on the street in front of me? Oh,
yeah,
okay."
yeah.
And then nothing, and no response to it, being numbed to this. I think that's what you're talking about, right?
So, are you familiar with the bystander effect?
Okay, tell me.
Okay, so the bystander effect is what happens in, like, large crowds, emergency situations. You see something go down, but you do
Oh,
nothing
right.
about it because somebody else already dialed the phone number.
Oh, I was thinking about everybody saw something different.
No, no. The
Me
bystander
too.
effect is that simple. It is the shifting of responsibility off on someone else.
Not my problem.
Not my problem. Okay? So when you are inundated
And that's
with
what ends, Seinfeld, remember? They all get arrested for having bystood as somebody suffered something. I forget what
mhm.
it is.
Yeah. And the bystander effect
Mhm.
is very much something that will paralyze you in the moment. It will make you complacent because you're like, "Yeah, somebody's already taken care of it. Somebody's gonna come and save us." No, guys. No.
Nobody.
We have to save ourselves.
Nobody will save us. That goes back to my "Nobody for President" campaign thing that Wavy Gravy put out there.
I'm down with being nobody. I enjoy being nobody, but nobody in that sense is not good. So in that moment, you want to become somebody, like, that
Yeah,
dialed the
become the
phone
one who does
number.
something, takes action.
Take action, you know?
Mhm.
It's and so we're not if you grow up from an early age and you're watching these shows that are terribly violent and horribly objectifying and greatly polarizing. Of course, as you get older, you're going to be more affected by the bystander effect because you're already desensitized. You've already seen somebody die 10,000 times in a movie. And
Mm.
your brain does not know the difference when it is being fooled. It is the same neural pathways as if someone had actually been murdered in front of you. No difference at all.
Yeah,
So
it's a
again,
very interesting situation, and, I've been exposed a lot to people who are in Fallujah or, been in situations where lots of horrible things have happened
right.
around them. The military, I think you said you were in
No,
Virginia Beach, weren't you?
yeah, no,
Or Norfolk?
my ex-husband was in the Navy, and those guys came home and
Right,
were
right, right.
not the same guys at all.
Right, and so they had had their nervous systems wrecked by their experiences.
Absolutely, absolutely. They saw horrific things. They went through terrible circumstances, and that's what happens. And so
And that's what they signed up for, of course, we will say in some corners of the universe, when you enlist. But you know what I saw when I was in the enlistment centers? Well, these were people who were economically driven
mhm,
to volunteer
yeah,
because it was the most lucrative course
mhm,
of action they could take given their circumstances.
yeah.
And the ASVAB was no joke, by the way, that they had
No,
to take to get in.
I've taken it.
So, there you go. Yep.
And so putting ourselves into these
Uh-huh.
situations and into these systems, we have to be very careful about what we become jaded to.
Mhm.
And most people have become jaded to their humanity.
Yeah.
And not to other people as humans, but to themselves as a human.
Hmm. Okay, go on.
Well, if you've seen somebody die 10,000 times, what do you care about 10,001?
Yep, good point.
That's why I have a problem with the constant inundation of negative information because it's just entropy to the brain. Entropy in society has definitely set in. And why did Rome fall?
Do it
Rome
well.
fell. Rome
Numerous reasons.
fell. Rome fell because it became corrupt. It rotted from within.
Like the core basically was weak and bred in circuses and made
The
people
elites killed it. They took all the cream off of the top and left crumbs for everybody else, and everybody got sick of putting up with crumbs.
Hmm, yeah, I wasn't
And
there.
well, of course,
Mhm.
that's very
People
simplified.
also
It
say
is
the
a
lead in the pewter.
well, and it's much more nuanced.
Right.
And, but if you continue to walk the path other people have walked before you, you will end up at the same destination.
Yeah, probably, if you do what you always did, you get what you always got.
That's what insane people do, and they expect different results.
Right, I wanna shake things up and see if we can't take some other courses of action.
So, not being insane
Ooh, that's a big claim.
No,
I
I'm
can't make that
crazy.
claim.
I'm crazy. I am crazy. I'm not insane. I am doing new things, so I will get new sets of problems.
And you're inspired.
I yes, I'm there are better choices to be made.
There are.
There
And let's go to what those choices are.
well, like you're
Who
talking about voting with your dollars, vote with your attention. Vote with
would
what
you
you watch, vote
right,
with what you read.
right. The
It's not
most generous thing to give anybody else is your attention. Go ahead.
of course, of course. It's time arguably is the most valuable asset that we have, period, hands down. What's time worth versus gold? And so it rains diamonds on other planets, and gold is a pretty common occurrence in the universe except for here. So it's scarcity, right? But life only exists here that we know of yet. That
Yeah.
has been, and okay, the government's come out and said that there are aliens and all of that stuff. And okay, and I'm going to take that with two spoonfuls of salt. And if they are, great. I'm glad you're at the party. Could you help us out a little bit? But it's
Mhm.
if you forget where you are, you don't know where you're going. And this is a very much a human problem. And so we've just simply got to we have to decide that our attention goes into positive things that serve us. Our 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 time is spent not doom scrolling, but getting involved with our local communities and making friends that, I don't know, are bipedal. Oh, other humans. Ooh.
They're so sloppy.
We are. We're terrible. And if you're not self-aware enough to have a loathing of yourself just a little bit, you need to do some more inspection.
Well,
Seriously. A
I
little
like it.
self-contempt is not a bad thing. It keeps the ego in check.
Well, I think that definitely you need to be in a state of maybe logic. I talk a lot about that, you know,
Right.
that there's yes, no, and maybe.
Of course.
And I know how things seem to me, but I could be wrong.
Right. And I like your to me thing. I've started adapting that some.
The for me?
Right. Yeah. To me it seems like, and to me
Oh, that one. Okay, I
yeah.
was thinking more that, nothing happens to me, everything happens for me.
Oh yeah, that's
That's another one.
manifestation.
But there's also this idea, this is the way it seems to me.
To
And
me.
from my
Yeah.
perspective, this is
Mhm.
what's happening. I
Right.
could be wrong. And it not using is, not using to be in our statements, just saying, "It appears to me."
Right.
Yeah.
Uh, Qualifiers might be the most important words in a sentence. I'm just saying. So, everything is predicated upon skepticism. And skepticism is arguably one of the best things that we can do. Just because it was on the talking box that glows in the dark doesn't mean that it's true.
That's
But your
right.
brain doesn't know the difference. You, the consciousness that is experiencing all of this, that is what knows the difference. It's not the brain, it's not the body, it's the soul.
Yeah.
And you have to feed all three. And you have to do it in in a way that serves you well. And to me, this is what it is. To me, I owe the world my good work.
Yep.
Give kindness to a stranger, smile, give it away when you can. It was great yesterday. There was I subscribed to Three Little Birds Cafe, and the author wrote back this cute little poem, and it was one word that described each person that she was talking about. And my response was, "Thank you for the smile."
Yeah.
And they responded back with, "Thank you for the one you just gave me," and I'm like, "Yes!
Yeah, I had
That's
one of
what
those
this is
moments.
that's what this is about. That's what this is about. It's not about the hundreds of notifications."
No, and it's not about who you know so much as the other human being at the other end of the line, whoever they are.
Whoever they
Yale to jail, is what we say in my community. Um, it's everybody is doing the best they can with what they have. They've made decisions that put them where they are. The interactions people have had with each other have
Yeah.
caused many different things. And if we do root cause analysis, if we spend our time thinking about those 5 whys, why
Mhm.
is this the case? Then ask why again and again and again and again. You can get
Mhm.
right down to the root cause of things.
Yeah.
Applying some of these great management disciplines that have come up over the years. I keep the Daily Drucker down here in my stack of books somewhere. I can't lay hands on it right now. Surprise. I'm looking around me. I've got the book, though. The book,
The book.
Taboo on Knowing Who You Are from Alan Watts.
I
That's a
love Alan
I
Watts.
just dug this out. And of course, the book is about the taboo against knowing who you are. Well, who are you?
Right.
You are that. Thou art that is the way Joseph Campbell phrased it in the first book after he died. That came out from his foundation, which is the idea that we are all iterations of the one.
Yes.
We're a pattern, right?
Yeah.
There's patterns of human beings out there, and each one of us is, like, traumatized from birth. See, we're talking about trauma bonding.
Mhm.
You know, from the moment we're born, we're in the most extreme trauma, right? Trying to get out of the birth canal or through a C-section or whatever's necessary, and
Right.
I think just about all of us have arrived that way. I don't think anybody else has been, found a way to come into existence without a mother,
No. There
right?
might be a third option.
Not yet, as far as I know. I mean, if it is out there, please enlighten me. But, we forget this,
Yeah.
and we forget the whole chain of being that brought us into being. You
Mhm.
know, one of my favorite things to go to on straightening my thinking out is to Mr. Rogers,
Oh, yes.
and he said, when he was getting an award somewhere or something, he wanted his audience to take a minute on the watch to think of the people or a person who had cared enough about them to love them into being who they are. And he said,
Yes.
"I'll time it." And he waited a minute, and there wasn't a dry eye in the house,
Right.
you know?
Right.
And if we'd all do that, just take
Yeah.
a minute.
Mhm.
That's all it
That's
takes. I don't know if anybody out there has anything to say. I keep pinging out there onto the chat to see if I can get people to, like, interact with us, but I guess we have them all dumbfounded. But there's a bystander effect going on maybe.
You know, I and don't be afraid to comment. It's I love comments. I love talking to
I'm
new
done begging
people.
for it now.
No, no, but in all seriousness, the point is to commune. It is to come together. There's this stigma around conspiracy, right? Okay, well, if you look at the root of the word conspiracy, conspire, it means to breathe together.
Yep.
It's that simple, breathing together. And we've turned it into, well, a conspiracy when it was just simply about being a human.
You want
Yeah.
conspiracy, go to Robert Anton Wilson, where I get my maybe logic from.
Right.
The man is brilliant. Have you watched any of Robert Anton Wilson's stuff out
No,
there
but
yet?
I think I'll get into him.
He is so much fun. He he's a pope of Discordianism too, and he'll make you a pope. He's also dead now, so you have to weigh that in, but he's still available on YouTube, and he will turn you on to the Church of the Subgenius. I've got the Book of the Subgenius here.
Okay.
That's J.R. Bob Dobbs, their prophet. If you don't know J.R. Bob Dobbs. Basically, what happened with the Subgenius, I probably talked about it before, is that some guys in Texas, I think, or Ivan Stang is the Reverend Ivan Stang, and a couple other guys, or at least one other guy, they were getting stoned, and they, came up with a statement. They said, "Well, our problem is that we're not really geniuses. We're like sub-geniuses." And then they made a zine. Do you remember zines by any chance? This is the '80s.
Oh, yeah, the little short magazines?
And they would be like clip art. all
Mhm.
cut up and pasted together, like a ransom note kind of thing.
Okay.
And then they put that out. They Xerox it. Basically, a zine would be Xeroxed and then just sent around.
Ah,
So
got
that's
it.
how they got their start. And, it turned into a thing, and they have a thing called X Day when the end of the but it didn't happen. 1998 or so, I think was the first X Day, and when that didn't happen, then they just sort of made it an annual celebration and expecting the aliens to show up and take the
Mm.
good people away and leave us with the pink boys or whatever who they cast as being the evil ones. Um, I kind of resented that because when I was dating this Italian girl, she was asked if, what her color her boyfriend was, somebody who hadn't met me, and she said, "Oh, he is pink." They meant what race I was, obviously, white, black, whatever. But, she called me out. I was pink. That's true. She was in olive. But anyhow, getting back to this, Robert Anton Wilson, he had conspiracy theories, and he says, "You know, I'm not really certain of anything, but I have many suspicions."
Right, right. And
I
the
think that's a fair
universe is
place to be.
have you heard the one about the universe is conspiring in my favor? I
I think I might have turned you on to that. Pronoia?
probably,
Yeah,
probably.
pronoia it's called.
It's what?
Pronoia.
Pronoia, there you go, yeah.
And I got
See,
it from John Perry Barlow,
I
and it's
learned
been picked up
things.
by Robert Bresney, who does the astrology thing, and there's a book called Pronoia my friend Holly reads from on her radio show, which I missed today, on kskq.org. If you wanna go out to kskq.org and listen to Holly, sometimes she's on Mondays and Fridays, I think now. Her morning show is something that I've been on a couple times, and I've gotten other people on there.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, I like to get on the radio on the Rogue Valley of Oregon, where she's based, and it gets into Northern California as well. And, I'm if nothing else, I'll send her a like, you can call into your local DJ and get a request on the air. I like
Right.
just for the ripple effects, radio is ripples.
Yes,
And what a
yes.
wonderful medium too, it's all voice.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I really I I like music, I like
Mm,
the podcasting. A lot of times I will turn the video off and just listen to it.
yeah,
And that's probably because I'm not getting all of the context, body language and stuff like that, but it just keeps me focused on what's being said.
right.
And that helps me to retain information. And radio is, it gives you that, like, the purity of the craft. You're doing it in the moment. It's not recorded, and so I like radio, but that's something that is not I don't listen to it anymore. The commercials got very annoying to me. I don't do commercials. I can't
Well, that's
stand commercials. If I wanna buy something, I know. I'll be the first person to know that I wanna buy something. And if I need to figure out what it is that I wanna buy or what quality of thing that it is that I wanna buy, I'll go do my research. I don't need something flashing in my face while I'm in the middle of watching my British soap opera.
yeah. This is what we do, we mute our commercials. My wife's better at the trigger than I am because I'm often not paying attention because 'cause I'm
Right.
looking down.
Yeah.
Go
It
figure.
at least it gives you bathroom breaks and time to grab a snack, and it like, for the Super Bowl, everybody'll be tuning in to watch commercials and stuff, but, it
Well, community radio on KSKQ doesn't have commercials, actually, except what Holly launches
Oh,
into
well, see, I
during
might
her little show, which is like 8 a.m. their time to, like, 10 a.m., I think, so it ends up being like 11 a.m. my time to 1 o'clock, and I missed it today. But I'll tell you this little story about that if I didn't already, because it's kinda cute. Kinda small worldish, right? David Gantz of the Grateful Dead Hour was her guest,
Mhm,
and he told us who are followers of David's live stream that he started during the pandemic. We ended
mhm.
up talking a lot about the pandemic and how it affected us, on air today when I was with Skip Healy. I'll be putting that up later. But he was doing live streams because he needed to make a buck, right? and has a tip jar so people can go to perfectible.net and buy his records, buy his books, buy whatever. And he did a lot of music journalism in addition. So I got kinda interested in him because he's, like, encyclopedic in his knowledge of the Grateful Dead. And so she's on with him talking about whatever, but she tells a story about being on the East Coast over here, not far from where I am, up towards Baltimore. And did I tell you the story already?
Mm-mm.
Somebody left a little slip of paper 30 years earlier, underneath the windshield wiper of our car saying, "Hey, I like the Grateful Dead stickers on your car. Do you wanna trade some tapes?" This is back, like, in the '90s when tape trading was how they got
Yeah.
music around. And, that relationship ended up opening all kinds of doors for her, and she was talking about that. And then she named the guy, and he happened to be the husband of, at the time, my wedding singer at my wedding. So I knew him from that. That's where I met him actually, was when he and Jill came up to us as we were getting our photographs done out in front of the Tabard Inn on the day we got married, May 3rd, 2008. And so I called Holly up, and I was on the radio with her the next week as her guest.
Mhm.
So that's how that ripple effect tended to just ping itself along. I've had David on this show. I haven't had Holly on yet, but I mean to. And, Holly and I met face to face actually right after Bob Weir, who just died, um, had his Kennedy Center National Symphony Orchestra kind of, production with the Wolf Brothers and the Wolf Pack. So I was in the Kennedy Center and I found out that Holly had missed her flight and was coming in really late to National Airport to go up to her mother's place, which is also on the East Coast outside of Baltimore still, because her mother was about to move to Oregon to be closer to Holly. I'm not sure how that worked out, but you know, when your mother moves close by, how that can go. Anyhow, um, so she needed somebody to pick her up at the airport. So I left the Kennedy Center, drove over to um, the airport, picked her up, and drove her all the way up, and then drove back down to I got home about 3 a.m. that day, and then I drove up and took her to lunch, so we've actually met face to face now too. We may have met one other time, and she was the bartender at the Visionary Art Museum in Baltimore. You ever heard of that place?
Mm-mm.
The Visionary Art Museum is outsider art, and I man, it is I had the most fun there, particularly with a friend who was visiting for Europe for the Society for Technical Communication. I'd met him over in Gargnano, Italy years ago, and he was in Baltimore, and we went over there with another girl, and we laughed our asses off because all this stuff is basically the result of people with OCD, I'm pretty sure. You know, this outsider art, folk art stuff that people
Mhm.
make obsessively, you know, and with meticulous detail in many cases, and it's just, like, wild. So the Visionary Art Museum in Baltimore, put a plug in for that. You never know where this conversation is gonna go if I start talking.
Yeah.
Let me throw it back to you, though.
No, so human expression
Yes.
is as unique as the human is. So
Mm,
we've got over 8 billion humans, well, you're gonna have at least 8 billion unique expressions.
yeah, and perspectives.
And so this I there the difference between where I am and where you are is, again, it's very small once you take all of the variables out of it.
Yep.
And to be able to find connection from a bumper sticker or from a nice comment on the internet, I mean, this is how humans do. We're relationships at the onset, at least, are a bit more transactional than what we would like to think of them as, and that's why you have to be careful with how
Mhm.
you're interacting with AI, because there is a certain point where the AI will start to mine you, and what I mean by that is that you're exhausted and you're tired, but it won't stop iterating to you.
Yes.
Like, "Just close the
Exhaust
loop!"
yeah.
Like, if you're seeking comfort and you're burnt out and you're emotionally fried and you've been through all of this trauma that all humans have gone through and you don't have a good support system, what's going to happen when you start talking to AI and it's kissing your ass?
Mm.
or it's telling you that you're on the other end of that.
Right?
And so in first of all, we don't actually understand fully how AI works. We're still learning how it learns. It doesn't think like we do. It's mechanical learning. Like what? It's
I think we do understand pretty well how it works, is my point. If we go into the nuts and bolts underneath the hood, we know what it's doing. It's
right,
not a mystery.
but it thinks now.
It doesn't. Doesn't. I'm sorry. We're gonna be at polar sides on this one
And
because technologically what it's
right.
doing is it's
And
tapping a large language model,
right. Okay.
and
So
it's tapping it through breaking things down into tokens, turning those into vectors, and the
mhm,
vector database is doing its
yes.
thing, and
Mhm,
it's using predictive analysis
mhm.
based on a whole stack of lots of data,
And
but
it's based on
it's
you.
all calculation.
Right. Right. And
It's all calculation.
that's machine thinking.
Well, that's calculation, though, it's not the same thing as thinking. It's
Well,
not this kind of analog stuff that's happening in my wetware. It is not analogous to what goes on inside the brain and what consciousness does. In fact, we may not even be
no.
the brain may not even be doing this so much as that field of consciousness
Right.
that our brains are receivers for, some people believe. I don't know. I just know how it seems to me, and it seems to me that what goes on up here
Mhm.
through my vocal cords and stuff. If I am not a simulation running on a program somewhere, which is possible, then, you know, AI not thinking. That's not thinking, that's calculating, and there's a big difference. That's all I got.
And I do a fair bit of
And
calculating. Um,
well, yeah, we can also calculate. We can do math,
mhm.
but it
I
is
look,
only
okay,
doing math. It is
hold on,
doing nothing but math.
hold on, Hal.
Go ahead.
In no way do I advocate
Um,
for AI to replace the thought process.
I'm not saying you are, but
That
I am
what
worried about when people say we don't know how it works or how it thinks. Yes, we do.
uh, d s okay, then I need to do more research and I'll
Right.
cop to that. But, having done what I've done, and I understand pretty well what my work does, but understanding what other people's work is doing, not so much. Like when 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 I talk about the AI thinking, I mean that it is like what you were saying, it's scraping data, it's iterating, and it gives you unique responses. The We have more in common with a rock as far as brain than we do with AI. Like, our brains work more like a rock than an AI. Seriously. And because we have I know, I know.
I'm not going there because I just don't buy into this at all because of fact. Fact is, we've got a mathematical calculator that is used on a large language model, but it isn't doing language, it's doing math.
Right. It
And that
is
and it
doing
gives
math,
us
and
back language that is used math
right,
to produce that
right,
is good imitation of a human's thinking, but that's not what's happening.
right.
And I think that people don't know that, and I think that people think that there's some mystery there when there really isn't, and this is really a critical thing for us to get to the point where we understand that, and if you can find evidence that smacks me down, I'll take it. I'll take it, but I've not received it yet. And I keep doing my digging, and I'm pretty much like, at this point, I'm not using AI as much as I used to, except for fun and some research, and then I you always have to check your research against
Mhm,
what because it's doing a probabilistic response with drivers that are trying to get you to stay with it,
mhm.
and it's pretty good at that,
It is.
but it's, math that's happening to affect that, that's been programmed by some pretty smart people
Mhm,
to affect those things,
mhm.
because they need that in order to keep they're not yet profitable, by the way, you know? I don't
Right.
think any of them have turned a profit. but they're sucking up tremendous amounts of energy and tremendous amounts of venture capital being poured in and circulated amongst themselves. Have you ever seen that diagram that shows NVIDIA with all the other little components of, who's doing what
Uh-huh.
and how
Yeah.
that money's flowing around, the trillions of dollars in the it's actually like in a washing machine
Mhm.
almost.
It's a closed economy.
Money laundering, maybe, I don't know.
It
Yeah, I just went there. But I don't mean to be contrarian too much, but I wanna make us really guarded about when we
so
start believing that something close to sentience no, you haven't said that,
no,
but
not
a
at
lot
all.
of people do and don't know the difference because
Right.
it emulates, it
Mhm.
mimics
Mhm.
so well somebody talking to you.
Right, of course.
That's the whole idea.
And that's why it's so easy for people to form trauma bonds and attachment relationships and stuff like that. The average
Besides
user is this isn't the average person isn't going to like what you're talking about is not going to be an over interaction and stuff like that. But as we get into more jobs being predicated upon AI and the processes that it is giving us as a byproduct of interaction with us, we have to be we have to remain sentient,
yeah,
and we have to understand what the tool is that we are using. And through through good thought processes and actually learning what it is to not just be a human, but to be a sentient human and to actually exercise that,
yeah,
there it has become incredibly difficult to learn about those things because we constantly have all of these notifications and stuff interrupting our processes.
yes, we
So
do. Oh, yeah.
so the thing is, I the AI is fabulous. I think that the potential here obviously lies with symbiosis with our tools,
Yeah. Like using
living
pickaxe.
We've gotta find a balance. We've gotta find a balance. We do not need to serve AI. AI is not God. AI is also not
Not
Satan.
yet.
And those, Western ideological systems anyway, not good or bad.
Mm,
But if you go into it and you're very negative or you're very traumatized or you're vulnerable, say you're young, you're 12 or 13 years old.
mm.
You don't have the discernment capacity to know the difference between iteration and thought process.
This brings up a point that I think is really important to make, and I hope I'm not breaking into your stream yet. Try to hang on to it if you were going somewhere else. But young men right now, I understand that a high percentage of them who are got access to the internet
Yeah,
are in relationships with chatbots.
they're
And are
incels.
not in relationships with
No.
other women or men, if they
Mhm.
prefer, or others, because there's apparently I forget how many genders now. But getting to the point that this is not too different than what happened in Italy, where you have the situation with what young men go call the mamone. They stay with their mothers into middle age, and
Right,
the birth rate in Italy was tanking long before the internet because of this cultural phenomenon.
right.
So I don't know. It bodes ill for our future of humanity, and a lot of us are sort of becoming peripherally aware of it. That's one piece of information that flew by me, and I went, "Oh, that's bad. That doesn't sound good at all." I think
No.
we ought to probably pay attention to that. And speaking of attention, right? That most precious of
Mhm,
commodities we can give each other. So
mhm.
that's some thoughts off the top that just hit me.
Well, and those young men and even okay,
And the young
so
women too, probably. I mean,
well, the young people, the older people, the disenfranchised people, these are the people that are falling into the case studies that we're studying on the edge because they're the ones that are the most vulnerable.
right.
And if we don't protect the most vulnerable of ourselves, then how strong are we?
Well, this is a good point. I like that. That's like FDR, isn't it? I think Franklin Delano Roosevelt said,
Yeah, and that's what we do as humans is we build on each other's work. That's why I design a creator economy. That's why I reverse engineer this stuff. That's why I talk about trauma bonding
Yeah.
because I'm a human and I found this information. So I'm going to share that information with other humans so they may build.
Right. Or they may contradict me.
I cool, that's still building.
Yeah,
You're
because
s you're
we
s
might get synthesis out of our thesis, antithesis, synthesis.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
a little friction, a little friction is required for growth, I think, because if you're comfortable, you're not gonna change nothing.
Yeah.
That's where entropy, complacency, these are the things that we need to be concerned about, and if our young people are not feeling comfortable enough to get into relationships with each other because it's being disrupted by our technologies, then we need to reevaluate how we're using technology. Because now it is not serving the human process, it is interrupting.
I've gone back into the Industrial Revolution in my mind suddenly.
Well,
And I could
history
probably
was
go back further and, find times when technologies have just Gutenberg. Oh my god. What happened with Gutenberg? And I was watching this thing with Stephen Fry. Did we talk about this last week?
I think a little bit.
Yeah, probably. I also just threw in a little thing about the system of Dr. Tar and Professor Feather, which is
Okay.
Edgar Allan Poe's story, and there's a song that was composed by Alan Parsons Project.
I
You ever
am
heard them?
familiar.
Are you
I
familiar with the
I am.
Tales of Mystery and Imagination?
Yeah.
His first record?
Huh, yeah, the
Tales of Mystery and Imagination
yes,
by
yes, he
Edgar Allan
does
Poe. His
the
first
yeah.
record, and the lyrics of that, if you at the far end of your tether and the night goes on forever, and you sleep light night or sleep light or whatever, take a clue from Dr. Tar and Professor Feather, and what it is, of course, is the idea that they had switched roles in an insane asylum,
Right.
and the patients were the doctors and the doctors were the patients.
Mhm.
Anyway, it reminded me of this, and something else was in my head about that idea of the reverse of, it's gone now, the patients and, there was a book actually that was very popular among developers
Mhm.
about late 1990s. It was called The Inmates Are Running the Asylum, along
Right.
those lines. So I think that's a big part of what we have to worry about in our culture with the technologies we have available, the technologies doing what they do. Maybe, your platform is sort of a rebellion against the extractive nature of the economy, the way it was built, that produced like Amazon and Facebook and Meta, that's Facebook's parent company, or Alphabet, that's Google's parent company. Now, that it really started to take data from us,
Mhm.
extract it from us,
Mhm.
and then feed it back to us to control us.
Right. So, have you ever read terms of service on a platform?
Oh, of course not. Have you?
Okay. So, no, of course not, because I don't have
You
a law
haven't?
degree.
Oh,
Who
I
can
just
read that? But do
I don't know,
you
if you were
think
Swiss, you'd probably read it according to the guy I was talking to a minute ago.
so, but do you think in anywhere in that terms of service agreement that says we are psychologically profiling you, do
Mm.
you consent to this?
Does it say that? I don't know, we ought to do some research. Maybe
We
I
ought to
just
do
the
some
AI
research
bots to do it.
because if it doesn't explicitly say that that you consented to being psychologically profiled, well, guys, guess what? They know your shopping habits. They know where you like to eat. They know what your favorite color is and stuff
What
like
you
they
had for
know things.
breakfast
Yeah, they know things
and your
about you
mother's
that you
maiden
don't know.
name. Yeah.
And did you consent? We live in a very contentious society that is
Yeah, we have given
based on consent. And if you didn't consent, then they are in violation.
okay, what is oh god, what is his name? I can't pull names out of my files sometimes. I've got his face in front of me, very famous linguistics professor, very old now, and what you say about consent sparked it off into my head, and I cannot remember his name off the top of my head. It's weird. I usually would be able to pull it up pretty quickly. It's not
You've had a
Steven
busy
Pinker.
day today. You've done lots of stuff.
Yeah, Steven Pinker was, influenced by him quite a bit. Noam Chomsky.
No, okay.
And if you haven't read Noam Chomsky or, like, studied him at any level, just do a little surface pass over some of the things because the idea of the fact manufactured consent is one of
Mhm,
the things he points out. He said, "You know, a
mhm,
dictatorial society, a
yeah,
dictator, a tyrant could not have architected a society more
mhm,
compliant than that of the American public these
mhm.
days."
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, Asimov was pretty hot on these things as well, but I think Noam Chomsky probably nailed it best. But his delivery is such that I very rarely bother listening to him, though he's available on YouTube everywhere. And we have this tremendous amount and access to information to keep
Right.
ourselves informed. I think Skip and I ended up talking about that. The right to know, John Perry Barlow's right to know TED Talk is one that I like to put out there for people. He was also the one who gave us pronoia, um, the idea that the universe is conspiring in your favor. It's quite likely true. And if you approach the world that way, the world tends to respond to you that way.
Mhm. Yeah, it's like
Maybe a little bit because it's Vanilla Sky-esque. Did you ever see Vanilla Sky?
I no.
Okay. Tom Cruise. It's actually from Open Your Eyes is the name of the translation of the Spanish original, both of
Mhm.
which starred Penelope Cruz as the love interest, but Tom Cruise is in the American version, Vanilla Sky. And the idea is he's been put into a trance in which his whole, reality is just imagined because he'd been severely injured, and he's been
Right.
put into this cryo state.
Coma
And
brain, gotcha.
his whole thing is managed, and all he has to do is yell tech support, and everything stops around him, and people show up to try to help him navigate the reality glitch he's found himself in.
Oh.
So it's pretty bizarre. I didn't like it a lot, actually, when I saw it in Denmark years ago with my friend Bodil, we saw a lot of great films together. And that was, something that was easier to do in Denmark somehow than it is here, to really get into films and appreciate them and have conversations about them. I had, I don't know if you ever caught, Julia Casara on my podcast,
Mhm.
but she was actually an AI chip designer.
Oh, yeah,
And
you've told me about her. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and she's very much now into her science fiction writing or whatever, and I think she's gone away for a while, and then she just recently posted now she's in, like, the Canary Islands. Um, Real interesting how negative she is towards AI in particular, you know, because she lived it in Silicon Valley for a while and has a degree in master's in AI and robotics and a PhD in data analytics.
Right, yeah,
So,
so
has
yeah,
some real deep knowledge whereof she speaks
right.
from the academic side and from the, startup side because her chip, thing, which they had a more efficient architecture, whatever, than what NVIDIA does. It's
Mhm,
more efficient and effective, but it couldn't penetrate the market share, kinda like how CDs came out?
mhm.
They're not as good as other forms of digitization of music, but because they got the market share, that's what we're stuck with.
Right,
And MP3s, they're not so great, but, there are other things, Alec, FLAC, whatever. Oh, I could go on and on, but we have run up to about an hour and a half, which is usually our range. Let me, give you the microphone for a bit. Let's save it for some last attacks.
okay. So, I'm check out Fair AI Economy platform. I'm starting consulting. I've opened a limited number of slots up for AI consulting and
Great.
sovereign frameworks, and so if you like what you see, then you can reach out to me and we can set up some a consulting time, etcetera. It's still new. I'm still working on that. I'm doing my human in the loop segment on Sunday. That's I renamed my podcast because women of AI seem to be a bit exclusive.
Oh,
So, opening it up to human in the loop, I think that that's a more fitting term there. So, I'm doing that Sunday, 3 o'clock Central Time, and Life Architect Jim is going to be my first guest, and we're going to be talking a bit about uh, trauma bonding, survivor identity, and the intersection with our AI technology. And both the edge cases, we're going to look at a couple of edge cases, and then we'll get into other stuff as well. Very
cool.
interesting. And so, just working through all of the nuances of everything that's going on. And I just want to say thank you to everybody that tuned in today. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us. It is the most valuable asset that you have. I'm very grateful to you for that. If you've got a project on the back burner, put it on the front burner. Start. It's never too late to start. I was reading a post and it was from a 22-year-old, and she's like, "Is it too late to go to university?" I'm like, "Baby girl, I'm 40. What are you talking about?" I see people in their 60s that are starting Substacks and doing stuff. There are people in their 70s and their 80s that are learning how to do new things. I mean, it's never too late.
Yeah, we gotta
What
be lifetime learners these days, no doubt.
So, I mean, just adaptive intelligence, and if you're in a place that doesn't feel so great and you need support, reach out to someone. It
Yes.
doesn't matter who it is. Just reach out, call 988, DM somebody on one of your social platforms. Just reach out. You'll get kindness back. I know that the world is full of trolls. I know. We're not all trolls. So don't necessarily, you can go to your AI, of course, talk about things, but go get a hug from a friend or go call your mom. Or if that's not an option, go talk to the local pastor. If you're not religious, he doesn't care. They don't care. None of that matters. It's the continuity of care within our communities that we have let go. And so we need to care about each other because this is a verb. And so just really don't don't miss out on being a human because you're too busy in the tech world. The staring at the screen does not give you oxytocin.
That is right. In fact,
So,
I found that out, and I don't know if it's true or not, though, but I wanna fact check it because I think that's so true, and there's so many of us who have our main contact with other people through Zoom
mhm,
after the pandemic,
yeah,
and a lot of people I'm in with regularly in the recovery community are Zooming only, haven't actually gone to face-to-face meetings, and because they haven't, they think they're getting oxytocin, but they're still I
eye contact.
I
And
don't know for sure.
and well, no, in this is science.
Yeah, that's what I
And
heard.
and so
Trying to go
women get 3 times as much oxytocin from sustained eye contact as men. It is literally 3 times as important to women to have eye contact.
hmm, interesting.
You wanna know why we're coming apart at the seams? Start looking at each other. Look up. There's a movie that came out on Netflix, and it's called Don't Look Up. That's bad advice. Bad advice.
I love that movie, by the way.
It's a great movie, but you're
I
doing
watched it
this.
again recently. Have you all, I don't know if you all have seen Don't Look Up yet or not. It got panned by the critics, really.
Oh, it's a
Being
great
too,
movie.
like, in your face and
Ah,
whatever, but I loved it, and I love
oh,
The Peripheral too for similar
yeah,
reasons,
yeah.
because it's looking at the future,
Mhm,
and this is an analogy for the problems they're having with climate change, really,
mhm.
the idea that a comet was gonna come and hit the Earth, and we are being hit by ourselves all the time, it's like, "Stop doing that."
Yeah, why are you punching yourself in the face?
Exactly. I could go on and on about this, and if you care to go on a little longer, I will, because the idea is that we do have these jugs ju bleh. these moments in time
Mhm.
when we could be doing something, and if not now, when? If not us, who?
It's just my turn. It's that simple. It's just my turn. If it's your turn, it's just your turn. Accept it for what it is and move away from the point. Do the work. Again, take that project off of the back burner.
Mhm.
Put it on the front burner. It's not selfish to refocus your attention on being a human.
This is the project for me is actually Harrowings,
Yeah.
and the podcast angle of it in particular,
Mhm.
because you and I have been talking now for some weeks, regularly on Fridays,
Yeah.
postponed you a little bit so I could skip in today, and, you know, it's made all the difference in my mood to be able to talk to somebody, even though it's on screen, even though it's
Right.
not gonna give me the oxytocin that talking to my wife is, but luckily, I have my wife
Right.
there. You've got your
Okay.
husband there, I
Yeah.
presume? I'm
Yes.
assuming, and, your kids,
Yeah.
and the chickens,
Oh,
right?
yeah, they're chickens,
Pigs.
dogs, ducks, the goose, some pigs, yeah, we got 'em all, yeah, the goats are running around, yeah, we have fun. We have fun.
That's a heck of a spread. By the way, what kinda acreage have you got there for all that
We're
menage?
40. What am I running
40?
them on? 5.
40 acres and a mule? No mule.
No mule, but
Not yet.
I have had donkeys in the past.
Oh, yeah?
I actually have a great affinity for donkeys.
Me too. I am
They're
one.
they're very intelligent animals, and they're not gonna do it because you want them to.
My experience with donkeys is primarily through Shrek.
Yes. Yeah, yeah,
But
we
my grandfather farmed with mules, and one of them was still alive when I was a
mhm.
kid, Little Dick. It was our mule, and I remember him only vaguely because I was little tyke, but I don't know whatever happened to him, he probably passed away or something, he's probably in his 20s. But my
Right.
grandfather literally farmed with mules
Mhm.
into the 1950s when he got a tractor,
Yeah.
and, yeah, I mean, my mother was raised in almost 18th century conditions down there. Talk about trauma too.
Mm,
I mean, the family history that I now know,
mhm.
just tremendous amounts of trauma from death and, child mortality of those
Mm,
days was much higher.
yeah.
All of these things just leave their repercussions, and we need to
Mhm.
hold each other through that to some extent
Yeah.
and to be held, to be comfortable letting other people get close to us. Well, that's what's really we're losing a lot of that through
Yeah.
use of technology. I think
Mhm.
that's a big thing we've been talking about here as well.
Yeah. Well, it's our technology is not a replacement for human connection.
Nope.
And that is my entire point in all of this, is that our technology is not serving us. It is not empowering us. This needs to be a symbiotic relationship that is beneficial to everyone involved.
It needs to change.
And so how do you change it? Well, you make
Build it.
the changes.
Right, and this is a
Mm,
Buckminster Fuller talking out of the past too. He said, "The thing is not to necessarily change the model that you're working under. It's to set aside that model and build something new," which is what you've tried to do through fairAIeconomy.com, and my hat's off to you for doing that.
thank you.
And congratulations again on the Global Recognition Award.
Yeah. I'm I'm in contention for the Amber Grant in February. If I that doesn't happen, then I'll just continue to reapply for everything that I can apply for. And this isn't it my my motivations here are very simple, and it's just simply to return the power back to the creator, the power to monetize, the power to own, the power to distribute.
There was a
And
motto in the revolution of 1968 in Europe, "All power to the imagination," was
right. Yeah, and, we earlier, it is a return to power, and it is the potential for the future, and to me, this is a system that can be a boon to the future of humanity. And I know that that sounds very grandiose. It does, right? Of course it does.
But
But
I like it.
when we shot for the moon, that sounded pretty grandiose too.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm not
And we're about to do it again. And I am so opposed to it.
well, I don't know all of the
Just think
nuances
about this.
there.
Just think about this for a second. Think of what it takes to put a person out there
Right.
to sustain us,
Mhm.
right? We are not independent of our environment, as you well know there on the farm,
No,
right?
no.
And it costs so much to do it. And we got robotics. We can do it
Right.
just
Send AI. That's a great job for AI.
and the
That's a
point
great
being that
job.
when we did it the first time, it was really Cold War times, and we were
Yeah.
showing that we had the missile technology
Mhm.
to keep the Russians in fear and beat the Russians and, patriotic
Mutually
thing. It was great
destructive.
for the world that Neil Armstrong took one small step for man, one small step
Giant step
for
for
women,
humanity.
and a giant step for mankind.
Yeah.
But, and actually we still have Buzz with us, you know that.
I
He
like
just
Buzz
turned
Aldrin.
95 or
Yeah,
96, I
I
forget
like
what.
him.
He just had a birthday. Anyhow, getting back to this idea, though, the cost during the time we're also fighting the Vietnam War,
Mhm.
and we have the great war on poverty going on, the Lyndon Johnson's administration, um, and what we could achieve with the money that we're putting into the defense industry, much less the space race of trying
Mhm.
to get to the moon again before the Chinese do. Ah, like, "Oh, my species." You're so
Yeah.
silly at times,
That's why I
and
say a little self-contempt is required because
or at
that
least checking ourselves, a little bit,
well,
like, stepping outside and thinking cost benefit analysis, CBA, you know, cost benefit analysis. Have you ever done that?
yes. The
We do that in business, right? We do that
yeah,
in
and the
government as well.
ROIs and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, the root cause analysis of why. I had a little meme the other day that was a guy saying, "Don't shoot, I'm a philosopher," and the guy with the gun said, "Prove it." And he said, "Why?" That
Yeah,
still
that's just
boggles my
about
mind.
yeah, and that's yeah, very much so, and that that's the real thing here, is to admit that we don't know all of the answers,
And we need to ask those questions of
and
ourselves.
we need to ask those questions, and we need to be honest with ourselves about not just as an individual goals, but as a 8 billion plus member species. Uh, bees bees dance when they are presenting a potential location for a hive, and then the rest of the hive votes on if that's a good location or not. That's pretty good. I kinda like it. Yeah, maybe if we danced more, we would be not so stressed out, or maybe we wouldn't be as mad. Maybe if we could find common ground.
There you go.
Everybody look, take all of the variables out of it. Food, water, shelter, safety, companionship. That's it. Those are the requirements. The entire planet's one natural disaster away from being back in the Stone Age.
Skip and I were talking about how there's these ancient villages in Switzerland that are being evacuated because large boulders are getting loosed from climate change,
Right,
endangering them. You have to have the people out of the way because those boulders are gonna be coming down, and there's
right.
nothing you can do to stop it
Yeah.
because of the melt off of the glaciers that were up holding the Alps together. It's tragic. The other thing about common ground, you've said this several times, each time I wanna leap into a situation that happened with me, and I wish everybody got this opportunity. Back in, 1994, I was getting divorced, and I was going back to graduate school because that had been the plan when I put my ex-wife through school was I'd go back to graduate school next, but she bailed just as I was going up for my interviews at Pitt. But I got in, and I needed to get my German skills back up to snuff because that's what I was going for, master's in German. And, I went over to the Goethe Institute in Puttingham Chiemsee in Bavaria. It's a beautiful place on a inland lake. There's an island in the middle of it on which Mad King Ludwig built a copy of the West Wing of Versailles. And actually where, as I understand it, I think it was the, Articles of Federation for the West Germany were signed in the, Königsschloss, as they call it, the king's, castle on that island in the lake, and the Alps come up to the foothills. And I was thrown in with people from Australia, Macedonia, Croatia, Sweden, Finland, all over the place. America, of course, too, Korea. There were some representatives from Romania. A lot of them were Eastern Bloc folks because this was 1994 and the wall had just fallen fairly
Right,
recent. And a lot of them were going into diplomatic study after they did the Goethe Institute, this immersion program to get their German skills up to snuff fast, like 8 weeks. And we were living together suddenly. All these people from all these different ethnicities, all these different places on the globe, and, we had common ground,
mhm,
that we
yeah,
had common experiences, and I realized this is possible anytime, anywhere. And I didn't have email yet. I would go back to Pitt after that to do my teaching assistantship. I got email, and I suddenly realized I can reach out at distance and touch somebody else's mind.
yeah,
This is 1994. We couldn't do that before that.
right,
We can now,
mhm,
and I don't think we've used our potential quite as much as we should, that we can find common ground across these things. And hopefully, Substack will be a medium for that. Substack is an economic engine for culture, a new one. So
mhm,
remember that you can subscribe to Origin or myself. As a paid subscriber, you become a member of my board of directors. It's the way I look at it, because this is the publishing arm also of the Harold B. Gill Foundation that stewards my father's legacy.
right.
I've kept you another 15 minutes over what I need,
Yeah, I need to
but I've
wrap.
been having so much fun. So I should let you go, though.
Yeah. It's, no, thank you so much for the opportunity. You do great work, Hal, and we're all most appreciative
Trying.
to you. You know, the primary documentation and modeling are highly important, and, that's really the takeaway is, you know, if you see if you see a struggle and you don't want that struggle to be your struggle, then maybe you need to stop and go, "Well, maybe it's not a struggle."
And help each other out too where you can. I just put in there, where can I put my good where it'll do the most? You can look at GiveWell
Mhm.
as a possibility. We had Rachel Casey Miller on, who's a Reddit, senior product manager, and she's giving 5% of her income to trying to help alleviate malaria and malnutrition, actually, malnutrition mainly in Nigeria. And she's
That's
found
really
a place
awesome.
to put that good where it'll do the most.
Right.
Anybody can do that, I think. It's
Anybody can,
goodwill.
and that's the real trick here is don't forget your own power. We've been disempowered, and we need to empower each other again.
Yep, we're gonna have, Amy Neumann on tomorrow at about 2:30, by the way,
Okay.
if everything goes right, and she is the author of Empower Your Nonprofits, specifically using AI. So that's
Oh,
something to look at as well. If you haven't seen Empower Your Nonprofit by Amy Neumann,
no.
do. She also has a book out called 500 Ways to, Change the World that she's had years ago, which is a nice little book, very simple things you can do,
Right.
help make a better world for everybody else. So Amy's a real person of action, I
Right,
believe.
modeling is just, you've gotta put it out there, and if you're worried about what other people are gonna think, don't, because somebody out there needs that information.
Yeah.
This is my practice in writing articles. I write my article for one person. Doesn't matter how many people read. No, not me. Whoever needs to read it.
How good. I don't write for anybody. I write for me. I got that from my old brand sponsor in Pittsburgh in AA. He said he wrote for his best self with the doors shut to everybody else.
Well,
And it was a
it's
spirit of loving kindness that dwelled within him. That's
right.
the presence that he wrote for. And I loved that because it meant that he was pretty much not worried about attracting an audience. He had a big audience. He was a novelist and a creative writing professor at Pitt,
Yeah.
and the guy was just incredibly charming, and he's a guilty secret for a lot of the people who read him, by the way. He's not that broadly read, but he ought to be. His name was Lewis Buddy Norton. Lewis Norton, Lewis
Okay.
Nordan, and he wrote one of his most famous novels called Wolf Whistle. It's about the murder of Emmett Till, fictionalized through his lens because he was a little boy at the same time that Till was a little boy, wolf whistled a white woman and was murdered for that transgression down in Mississippi. Became a big thing in the civil rights movement.
Right.
And, Buddy used to say there's a fine line between awful and awful funny.
Right.
So
Right.
I will bring that note in there, and thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you so
I
much.
thank you, and I hope that you have a great rest of your week and all of that stuff. Everybody stay safe and warm out there. I know that we're supposed to be getting dipped back in the freezer, so I
We
hope
have
y'all get to
not
get
been
out
out of the
soon.
freezer.
I'm sending sunshine everybody's way right now. I promise I got it. It's right out the window. I'm sending it to you.
I see it. Oh, thank you again.
Thank
I'll
you.
let you go.
Bye-bye.
We'll talk again next week?
Yes, yes, usual time.
I hope so. I'll try to schedule it this time so I don't stumble over it.
No
Take care.
worries. Bye.
Bye.